Most people do not begin the day. The day begins them. My friend, you have been told that you just need more motivation. That is a lie. Motivation does not arrive in the morning. It arrives after you have already started. You have also been told that waking up tired is normal. That is another lie. The tiredness you feel before 8 a.m. is not from your body. It is from your mind. Today, you will practice 9 real English expressions, and you will learn how to take the first hour of your day back. Stay until the end. The final lesson is the one nobody says out loud. Welcome to English Story Studio. Here, you improve your English and your life at the same time. Every word in this video has a purpose. I learned this the hard way. The morning is not just time. It is the first decision you make. My friend, I know what your mornings feel like. You open your eyes and you are already behind. You have not moved yet. You have not spoken to anyone yet. But something in your chest is already tight. You already feel the weight of everything that is waiting. You tell yourself this is just how mornings are. You tell yourself you are not a morning person. But that is not the truth. The truth is that nobody taught you what to do with those first minutes, and so your mind fills them for you. And it does not fill them with good things. In this video, we will move through 3 stages. First, you will see yourself clearly. This is the mirror. You will recognize your own mornings in what I describe. It may be uncomfortable. Good. Second, we will challenge the things you believe. Some of those beliefs have been costing you more than you know. Third, you will find something better than motivation. You will find clarity. I am not going to give you a list of tips. I have lived too much for that. I am going to tell you what is actually true. Stay until the end. What I saved for last is the hardest truth, and it is the one that holds everything else together. Her name is Nadia. She is 33 years old. She teaches primary school in Cairo. Every morning she wakes up at 5,047. Not because her alarm goes off at 5,047, because her mind does. Before her feet touch the floor, the list has already started. Did she prepare the grammar activity for class 3? Does her mother need to be called? What will she say when her supervisor asks about the test scores? She has not made tea yet. She has not opened a window, but she has already rehearsed 7 problems that have not happened. By the time she leaves her apartment, she is not refreshed. She is already depleted. She walks into a room of 30 children at 8 a.m., carrying the weight of a day she has already lived twice in her head. Here is the small detail I want you to notice. She holds her tea with both hands. Always. Not because she is cold, because for 30 seconds, it is the only moment in her morning that asks nothing from her. She does not know that yet, but she does it every single day. I know this person. I was this person, not in a classroom, in an office, different city, different life. But the same morning, the same weight before the day even begins. If you recognize Nadia, stay close. This video was made for her, and it was made for you. Lesson 1. You are not tired from your day. You are tired from your thinking. The exhaustion you feel in the morning did not come from sleep. It came from thinking. This was the hardest thing for me to accept. I used to believe I was tired because my life was heavy. And my life was heavy. But the weight I felt at 6 a.m. was not from the actual work. It was from the rehearsal. I had already lived the day before it started. Every meeting. Every difficult conversation. Every possible failure. I rehearsed them all, and the mind does not know the difference between rehearsal and reality. It responds the same way. It releases the same stress. It carries the same cost. This is the mirror. Look at it directly. Most people wake up and immediately begin thinking about everything that could go wrong. Not because they are weak, because nobody told them that those first minutes are the most vulnerable. The mind in the first few minutes of being awake is like water. Whatever you pour into it takes shape, and most of us pour worry into it before we pour anything else. I know this because I did it for years. I thought I was being responsible. I thought that going through the problems early was preparation. It was not. It was punishment. I was punishing myself for things that had not happened and might never happen. And I was spending real energy on imaginary problems. That energy was gone by the time the real problems arrived. The morning is not just time. Every serious tradition I have studied, every person I have watched rebuild their life begins in the same place. They stop letting the mind rehearse. They start letting it rest before the day asks anything. That is not laziness. That is discipline of a kind most people have never tried. Nobody warned me about this. I wish someone had. Nadia does not know she is doing it. She stands at the stove waiting for the water to boil. Her hands are at her sides, but her mind is already in classroom 3. She is already explaining to a parent why the test score was low. She is already choosing words. She is already defending herself. The water boils. She does not hear it for 30 seconds. When she does, she pours the tea. She has already been at work for 20 minutes. And she has not left her kitchen. I have seen this pattern in myself. That kitchen is not a kitchen. It is the place where the day gets decided before it begins. Tonight, before you sleep, write one sentence only, the first real thing that actually needs your attention tomorrow. Not the full list, not everything, just one. Write it down and close the notebook. Let the rest wait. It will still be there in the morning. One sentence, one real thing. That is all. Lesson 2. The first thought wins whatever enters your mind in the first 3 minutes of being awake. That is what shapes the next several hours. I did not believe this for a long time. I thought emotions were reactions. Something happens. Then you feel something. That is not how the morning works. In the morning, you feel something first. And then that feeling becomes the filter. Every message you read, every look from a colleague, every small problem that comes up, all of it passes through that filter. If the filter was set by worry, everything looks like a threat. If it was set by panic, everything looks urgent. The filter was built before you had enough information to build it correctly. This is what changed everything for me. Not a habit, not a system. Just the understanding that the first thought was not neutral. It was not just a thought. It was a direction. And I had been letting mine point the wrong way every single morning, then wondering why the day felt difficult. The mirror in this phase is not comfortable. I know that. But stay with me. You have probably never chosen your first thought. Not once. You wake up, and whatever is loudest, whatever is most unfinished from the night before, that is what arrives first. And you follow it. Not because you chose to, because it was simply there, and you were not awake enough yet to question it. This is what Marcus Aurelius understood. He was a Roman emperor. He ruled one of the largest empires in history. Every morning before the world reached him, he wrote down what was true and what was not to be productive, to see himself clearly before everything outside could distort him. He was doing it without a phone, without messages waiting, without noise, and he still found it necessary. Think about what that means for your morning. I learned this the hard way. I spent years waking up mid-thought, already in a conversation I had not started, already losing an argument that had not happened. The first thought won every single day, and I never chose it once. Nadia's first thought most mornings is a worry, not a question, not a plan, a worry. It arrives before she opens her eyes fully. It is usually about a child in class who has been struggling, or a message she did not reply to. That thought does not leave. It becomes the glass she looks through all morning. A colleague says good morning with a flat voice, and she wonders if something is wrong. A child arrives late, and she feels the anxiety before she feels anything else. She does not know the glass was put in place at 5047. She thinks this is just her personality. I know this because I did the same thing. For years, the first thought wins. It always wins. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, say one true and calm thing out loud. It does not need to be powerful. It does not need to be inspiring. Try something like, "It is Tuesday. I am here. I can start." Say it before you look at anything, before you check anything. That sentence is yours. Start there. One sentence out loud. Before the phone, before anything else. Lesson 3. Busyness and clarity are not the same thing. A person who is always busy is not always someone who knows what matters. Sometimes they are simply someone who has not stopped long enough to decide. I know this because I was that person. I filled every minute, every gap, every pause, every quiet moment. I filled it. I told myself I was productive. I told myself busy meant responsible. I was wrong. I was busy the way a person is busy when they are afraid of silence. When you are moving, you do not have to hear the thing you are not ready to hear. This is where the mirror phase begins to shift. You have been seeing yourself. Now you have to ask something harder. Is the movement in your morning actually preparation? Or is it avoidance? Be honest, you are the only one listening. Nadia fills every gap. Tea, scroll, worry, scroll again. She touches everything and settles nothing. She arrives at work not prepared, but stimulated. There is a difference. Stimulated means the mind is active. Prepared means the mind knows where to go. She has mistaken one for the other for 3 years. The movement felt like readiness. It was not readiness. It was noise with direction. I have seen this pattern too many times, and I have lived it. There was a period in my life when I worked 16 hours a day and understood nothing about where my life was actually going. Busy, yes. Clear, no. And when everything fell apart, I saw it clearly. All that movement had been a way of not standing still. Not standing still meant not having to see what was true. The morning is the first place this shows up. What you do in those first 15 minutes tells you everything about whether you are moving with purpose or simply moving. Most people do not know the answer, not because they are not trying, because they have never stopped to check. Clarity is not the same as calm. Clarity is knowing what is real. You can be quiet and confused. You can be busy and clear, but the people I have watched, the ones who actually changed their mornings, they all did the same thing at some point. They stopped. They looked. They counted what they were actually doing. And it changed something. Someone I know, a woman in her late 20s, used to describe her mornings as productive. She woke up early. She was always moving. One day I asked her to write down everything she did in her first 15 minutes. She came back with a list. Check phone, scroll, check again, make coffee, scroll while waiting, read a message, feel anxious, do not reply, check the time, feel behind, leave. She had done 9 things. She had decided 0 things. That list stayed with her. It was the first morning she had ever seen clearly. For the next 3 mornings, notice how many things you do in the first 15 minutes that you did not choose. Things you simply did, automatically. Write the number down each morning. Do not judge it. Do not try to change it yet. Just count. The number itself will tell you something you need to know. Count. Write it down. That is all. Stop. Before the next lesson, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. When was the last morning you actually decided how it would begin? Not organized it, not survived it, decided it. Sit with that for a moment. There is no rush. The next lesson will still be there. But this question matters more than anything I have said so far. Because if you cannot answer it, you already have your answer. In the next part, we go deeper. The beliefs you have been carrying about your mornings are about to be challenged directly. Some of them you have held for years. Some of them are the reason nothing has changed. Stay with me. Lesson 4. Stillness is not laziness. 2 minutes of real quiet will do more for your morning than 30 minutes of anxious movement. I believe the opposite for most of my adult life. I thought stillness was for people who had nothing to do. I had things to do. I always had things to do. And when you have things to do, sitting still feels like a choice you cannot afford. That is the lie. I believed it for years. And it cost me more than I can calculate now. Here is what fire does. It burns what is not real. And the tension in this phase is exactly that. What you believe about stillness is probably not true. It is something you absorb from a culture that rewards movement and punishes pause. A culture that calls a busy person important and a quiet person lazy. I absorbed it completely. I wore my busyness like proof of my value. When everything collapsed, I had nothing left but time. And I did not know what to do with it. I had never learned to sit inside it. 2 minutes is not a long time. You have wasted longer than 2 minutes looking for something to watch. But 2 minutes of intentional quiet before the noise starts, before the phone, before the list, that changes the chemistry of the morning. Not because it is magic, because it interrupts the pattern. The mind that has been running the same anxious loop every morning for 3 years does not know what to do when the loop stops. And in that small confusion, there is a gap. And in that gap, there is a choice. I did not learn this from a book. I learned it when I had no office to go to and no identity left to perform. I sat in my kitchen for 2 minutes because I had nothing else, and I noticed something. The next hour was different. Not better. Not fixed. Just different. That difference was enough to make me try it again. My friend, the people who tell you they have no time for stillness are the people who need it most. I was one of them. You may be one too. Nadia would look at 2 minutes of stillness and see wasted time. She has 30 children arriving at 8 a.m. She has messages. She has a grammar activity to check. The idea that sitting quietly could help her more than doing more would feel, to her, almost irresponsible. I know this feeling exactly. I sat in that same chair. I felt the same pull toward movement. The difference is that I eventually ran out of movement. Nadia has not run out yet, but she will. And when she does, I hope she remembers that the stillness was always available. Set a timer for 2 minutes tomorrow morning. Sit down. You do not need to close your eyes. You do not need to breathe a special way. Just stop moving. When the timer ends, notice one thing. Did your thinking change at all? Even slightly. You do not need to report it to anyone. Just notice it. 2 minutes. Timer. No phone. Just notice. Lesson 5. Your phone is not the problem. Your hand is you do not have a phone problem. You have a decision problem. The phone does not reach for you. You reach for it, and you reach for it before you are fully awake, before you have enough clarity to choose. That is not a technology failure. That is a habit that runs faster than your thinking. I know this because I had the same habit, and I told myself the same story. I need to check. Someone might need me. It will only take a minute. None of those things were true. Not at 6 a.m. Not once. Here is the hard truth in this phase. The phone is fire. It does not care what it burns. It will take your first thought, your first emotion, your first decision, and replace them with someone else's urgency, someone else's opinion, someone else's problem. And you will carry that into your morning as if it belongs to you. It does not belong to you. You picked it up before you were ready. That is not the phone's fault. That is the hand's fault. I rebuilt my mornings from nothing after I lost almost everything at 45. And the first real thing I changed was not a habit or a schedule. It was where I put the phone at night. That is all. I moved it out of reach. And the next morning I lay there for 6 minutes before I touched anything. 6 minutes. That was the first time in years I had 6 minutes that were entirely mine. I did not do anything impressive with them. I just had them. And that was enough to understand what I had been giving away every single morning. Nobody warned me about this. I thought I was using the phone. I did not see that the phone was using the first and best minutes of my day. The minutes when the mind is softest. The minutes when what enters goes deep. My friend, this is not about technology. It is about who decides how your day begins. Right now, for most people, the answer is not them. Nadia knows, somewhere, that the parent group chat has never once helped her teach better. Not at 6 a.m., not ever, but on the third morning of her small experiment, the phone is in her hand before the timer ends. She spends 14 minutes reading complaints. She arrives at school that day carrying someone else's anger about a schedule change that has nothing to do with her classroom. She did not choose to carry it. She picked it up without thinking. I know this moment. I lived it more times than I want to count. Move your phone charger tonight. Put it somewhere that requires you to physically stand up to reach it, not across the room, just not within arm's reach from where you wake up. Do this for 1 week only. Watch what your hand does in the morning when the phone is not there. That moment, that reach for something that is not there, that is the habit showing itself. Watch it. Do not judge it. Just see it. 1 week. Move the charger. Watch the hand. Lesson 5. Nadia decides to try something small. She wakes up 11 minutes earlier. Not to exercise. Not to write in a journal. Just to sit in the kitchen before the list starts. She holds her tea with both hands, the way she always does. She tries the 2-minute stillness from lesson 4. She sets a timer. She does not pick up her phone. She manages it for 2 mornings. On the third morning, the phone is in her hand before the timer ends. She spends 14 minutes in the parent group chat. She knows, in the moment she picks it up, that she is choosing it. There is a half second where she sees herself choosing, and she chooses it anyway. She arrives at school feeling the familiar weight. But something's different. She notices the weight in a way she has not noticed it before. She notices she chose it. It was not automatic. It was a choice she made while half awake. And that half second of awareness, that small crack of light, was not there 3 days ago. I know this moment. I lived it. The first time you see yourself choosing the thing that hurts you, it does not feel like progress. It feels like failure with commentary. But it is not failure. It is the beginning of something real, the beginning of a mind that is starting to watch itself. You already know what your mornings look like. The real question is, do you know what you are protecting by keeping them that way? My friend, stop here. I need to say something directly. The habits you have in the morning are not accidents. They are solutions. They solved something once. Maybe they solved the feeling of being overwhelmed by making you feel busy. Maybe they solved the silence by filling it with noise. The question is not how to break the habit. The question is what the habit has been protecting you from. Until you know that, nothing changes. I know this because I broke the same habits 12 times before I asked that question. The 13th time, I asked it first. Lesson 6. Reflection is not weakness. It is information. A person who refuses to look inward is not strong. They are simply carrying problems they have not named yet. This one took me the longest. I am not ashamed to say it. I came from a world where reflection was not respected, where moving fast meant you were serious, where stopping to look at your own interior was something you did when things went wrong, not before, not as a discipline. I paid for that belief. I paid for it in ways I am still counting. The fire in this phase burns the idea that toughness means not looking. That is not toughness. That is avoidance with good posture. When I lost everything at 45, I had no choice but to look inward. There was nothing left to look at on the outside. And what I found was not what I expected. I did not find weakness. I found information I had been refusing for years. I found patterns I had repeated without knowing. I found the same fear underneath 20 different behaviors, and seeing it, just seeing it, and naming it, changed. More than 10 years of moving fast had changed. You do not have to fix what you find. That is the thing nobody tells you. You do not have to fix it. You only have to name it. A problem that has a name is a problem you can work with. A problem without a name runs your life without your permission. My friend, the things you are not looking at are not hidden because they are small. They are hidden because they are loud, and you learned somewhere that hearing them was dangerous. It is not dangerous. It is the only way forward I have ever found that actually works. Nadia moves fast in her mornings because stillness makes the list louder. If she sits down, she has to hear the things she has been not hearing. She is not enough. She is behind. She is tired in a way she cannot explain to anyone, because they would look at her life and tell her she is fine. So she moves. She fills every gap. She mistakes the movement for strength. It is not strength. It is the same fear she has had for 3 years, wearing the clothes of a busy morning. Write one sentence every morning this week. Begin it with these exact words. The thing I keep not looking at is. Do not plan the ending before you write the beginning. Just write it. You do not need to do anything with what you find. You do not need to fix it or share it. Only name it. The naming is the work. One sentence. Every morning. Begin it the same way. Lesson 7. Deciding in advance costs. Less than deciding under pressure. A decision made the night before in calm costs almost nothing. The same decision made in the morning under fatigue and noise costs everything. I learned this not from discipline. I learned it from exhaustion. There was a period after my life came apart when I had very little energy. Every decision felt heavy. What to eat? What to do first? What mattered? I had no reserves left, and I noticed something. The mornings when I had decided a few things the night before were different, not easier, but lighter. The mind did not have to start from zero. Most people do not know how much energy small decisions consume. You think it is only the big decisions that drain you. The career choice, the difficult conversation. But the brain does not sort decisions by size. It processes them by number. Every small choice, what to wear, what to eat, what to do first, takes the same kind of mental resource as a larger one. And if you make 12 small decisions before 8 a.m., you arrive at the real work of the day, already partially spent. The night before is a different country. It is calm there. The noise has not started. You can see clearly. A decision made in that country costs almost nothing. The same decision made in the morning, when the alarm is still ringing in your body and the list is already started, costs 10 times more. I know this because I made everything harder than it needed to be for most of my adult life. I was proud of handling pressure. I was creating pressure I did not need to handle. My friend, this is not about being organized. It is about being honest with what the morning actually takes from you, and then deciding not to give it things it does not need. Nadia decides what to wear after the alarm goes off. She chooses what to pack while the tea is brewing. She figures out her first priority for class while walking to the bus. Every small decision happens under noise, under fatigue, under the weight of the list that started before she opened her eyes. By the time she reaches the school gate, she has made 20 decisions and chosen nothing. I have seen this pattern. I lived it in a different building. The address does not matter. The cost is the same. Tonight, before you sleep, decide 3 things: what you will eat for breakfast, what you will wear, and the single most important thing you need to do at work tomorrow. Write them somewhere you will see in the morning. That is all. Nothing else needs to be decided before 7 a.m. Let the morning use that energy for something real. 3 decisions tonight. Write them down. Lesson 8. You do not need a perfect morning. You need an honest one. The goal of a morning practice is not to feel great. It is to begin the day knowing what is actually true. I want to say this clearly, because this is where most advice fails people. The wellness videos and the morning routine content, they show you something clean, something quiet and lit correctly, and you look at it and think, I will never have that. My apartment is small. My children are loud. My life does not look like that. And so you decide the whole thing is not for you. That is not a failure of discipline. That is a failure of the wrong picture. This is the river phase. The fire has done its work. What remains is not dramatic. It is just real. What I found when I finally moved, when I finally stopped trying to have the perfect morning and started trying to have an honest one, was simpler than I expected. An honest morning is one where you know what is true before the world tells you what to think. You do not need candles. You do not need a journal with gold edges. You need 12 minutes that belong to you. Minutes where nothing is asked of you yet. Minutes where you can hear yourself before you have to perform yourself. I did not learn this from rebuilding well. I learned it from rebuilding badly. From mornings that were messy and imperfect, and still better than the mornings where I tried to follow a system that was not mine. The honest morning is the one where you arrive at the first task of the day as yourself. Not as the version of yourself the phone built. Not as the version of yourself the worry built. Just you. That is enough. That has always been enough. My friend, do not wait for the morning you see in videos. Build the smallest morning that still feels like yours. That is the real practice. Nadia does not need a morning that looks like a wellness video. She needs 12 honest minutes before the world starts asking. 22 days after she begins her small experiment, she still wakes up with the list. She probably always will. But now she has 12 minutes before she responds to any of it. Some mornings break down. But 3 weeks ago, she did not have one morning that felt like hers. Now she has most of them. That is not a perfect result. It is a real one. And real is the only kind that lasts. Design the smallest morning that still feels like yours. Not the ideal morning, the minimum one. Ask yourself one question. What is the one thing done in under 10 minutes that would make you feel you started the day rather than reacted to it? Write that one thing down. Start there. Only there. Build nothing else until that one thing is solid. One thing. Under 10 minutes. Start there. Lesson 9. Clean the mind the way you clean the body. The mind collects residue every day. And without a small daily clearing, it carries yesterday into today. You shower every morning. I know you do. You would not leave the house without it. The idea of carrying yesterday's physical residue into today would feel unacceptable to you. But you leave every morning carrying unfinished thoughts from the night before, unprocessed feelings from yesterday's conversations, unexamined worry from 3 days ago. You clean your body and let your mind leave dirty. And then you wonder why everything feels heavy. This is what I found when I finally moved. When I finally had nothing left to distract me and nowhere to perform for anyone. I found that the weight I had been carrying was not from the present. It was from every yesterday I had never cleaned. Every conversation I had not finished in my own mind. Every feeling I had moved past instead of through. The river does not carry the same water twice, but the mind without cleaning carries the same thought for weeks. The same low feeling. The same unresolved tension. It just changes its clothes. It shows up as irritability one day, and tiredness the next, and a vague sense of being behind the day after that. You recognize it, my friend. You have felt it. You just did not know it had a name. It does. It is yesterday, living inside today. The clearing does not take long. It takes less time than the shower. 3 minutes. One question. What did today leave in me that I do not want to carry into tomorrow? That is all. You do not need to answer it perfectly. You do not need to solve it. Only name it. Name it and put it down. That is the cleaning. I do this now. Not because someone told me to, because I spent years carrying weight that was not from the present. And I am not doing that again. Nadia showers every morning without thinking about it. It is not a discipline. It is just what you do. She would never question it, but she leaves every morning carrying yesterday's parent complaint, last week's low test score, the feeling from 3 days ago when her supervisor walked past without speaking. She has never once cleaned any of it. It sits in her, unnamed, and she calls it anxiety. She calls it her personality. It is neither. It is yesterday, still in the room, still taking up space. Before you sleep tonight, spend 3 minutes with one question. Write it or just think it. The question is this: what did today leave in me that I do not want to carry into tomorrow? Say what it is. Give it a name. You do not need to fix it or understand it fully. Only name it. That naming is the cleaning. Do it the way you do the shower. Every day. Without deciding whether you feel like it. 3 minutes. One question. Every night. These 9 lessons are not separate ideas. They are one system. Think of them as a river that begins the night before and flows through the first hour of your morning. You clear what you are carrying. You decide what tomorrow needs. You wake up and you choose your first thought before the noise can choose it for you. You sit still for 2 minutes. You keep your hand away from the phone. You look honestly at what is true. You arrive at your day as yourself. That is the whole system. It is not complicated. It is only unfamiliar. You now have the map. The question is, will you use it? Most people who watch videos like this one do the same things wrong afterward. Not because they are careless. Because nobody tells them what the traps look like. I know these traps. I fell into every one of them, so before you close this video, I need to say this clearly. Mistake 1, starting with everything at once. What? You finish watching. You feel ready. Tomorrow morning, you wake up early. Move the phone. Sit still. Write in a notebook. Decide 3 things. And try to do all 9 lessons before 7 a.m. By day 3, you have done nothing. Why? This is not discipline. This is the same pattern the whole video was warning you about. You filled the gap with movement. You mistook the size of the attempt for the seriousness of the commitment. A system that requires everything from you on day 1 is not a system. It is a performance. Pick one lesson. The one that names something you recognized. Do only that for 7 days. Nothing else. Let it become boring before you add anything. Boring means it is working. Mistake 2. Waiting until the morning is perfect. Before you begin. What? You tell yourself you will start on Monday. Or when your schedule is lighter. Or when you have a better apartment. Or more time or fewer responsibilities. The Monday becomes next Monday. Why? I made this mistake. More than once, after I lost everything, I told myself I would rebuild properly once things settled. Things do not settle on their own. You have to settle them, and the morning you are waiting for is not coming. The only morning that exists is the one you have right now, with the noise and the small apartment and the list that starts before the alarm. Fix. Begin tomorrow, not with the full system, with 1 minute. Set a timer. Sit. Let morning be imperfect. An imperfect morning that belongs to you is worth more than a perfect morning you are still planning. Mistake 3. Measuring the wrong thing. What? You do the practice for a week. You check to see if your life has changed. It has not changed visibly. You feel roughly the same. You decide it is not working and you stop. Why? I watched this cost me everything I had just started to build, more than once. The morning practice does not produce visible results in a week. It produces a different kind of result. Nadia's result was a half-second of awareness. That is not nothing. That half-second is the beginning of every real change. But if you are measuring by how your life looks on the outside, you will miss it entirely. Fix. For the first 3 weeks, measure only one thing. Did you do it today? Yes or no? Not how it felt, not what changed. Just, did you do it? The results come later. The practice comes first. Trust the sequence. 22 days later, Nadia still wakes up with the list. She probably always will. That is not the part that changed. What changed is this. She now has a 12-minute window before she responds to any of it. She sits. She writes 3 sentences in a small notebook she bought for £4 at the shop near school. She does not check her phone until she finishes her tea. Some mornings this breaks down completely. The phone is in her hand before she remembers. The list starts before she has taken a breath. But 3 weeks ago she did not have one morning that felt like hers. Now she has most of them. It is not a transformation. It is a practice. And a practice, by definition, is never finished. When someone asked her recently what changed, she thought for a moment. Then she said, I did not fix my life. I just stopped letting it start without me. That is all I wanted to. For a long time, that was the only thing I needed. Just to be moving. Just to be the one who chose where. Of everything we talked about today, there is one thing I want you to remember. Not the phone rule. Not the 2 minutes. Not the 3 decisions the night before. Those are all real. They all matter. But if you forget everything else, remember this one. The first thought wins. I want you to hold that. Not because it is the most complicated idea in this video. It is the simplest. But simple is not the same as easy. And this one, this idea that the first thing you let into your mind sets the direction of everything that follows. This is the one I wish someone had told me at 30, at 25. Earlier, I spent years waking up mid-thought, already inside a problem, already behind, already defending myself against something that had not happened yet. And I carried that into every hour of every day and called it my personality. Called it stress. Called it the cost of ambition. It was none of those things. It was just an untrained first thought, running the same loop every morning, without anyone stopping it. When I finally understood this, I did not feel empowered. I felt something quieter than that. I felt the specific sadness of seeing clearly how long you have been doing something wrong. That sadness is not comfortable, but it is clean. It is the beginning of something. My friend, I do not know what your mornings look like right now, but I know this. You did not find this video by accident. Something in you already knew that the way it has been going is not the way it has to go. The mind was not made to carry everything. I believe that. And I do not say it lightly. Every serious tradition in human history, the morning prayers of Islam, the contemplative practice of Christianity, the stillness at the center of Buddha's teaching, they all begin in the same place, with a moment of return, a moment of coming back to what is true before the world tells you what to think. This is not religion. This is something older than religion. It is the recognition that something in every human being knows we were not made to start the day already overwhelmed. The clearing is not a technique. It is a return to yourself before anything else claims you. So here's what I am asking. Not much. Tomorrow morning, before the phone, before the list, before the first worry arrives and sets up for the day, say one true thing, something small, something yours. That is the beginning. That is always the beginning. The morning was always yours. You just forgot to claim it. If today's lesson stayed with you, press subscribe. Not for me, for you. So the next lesson finds you